Hi, sisters. It's Nisi here. So here we are. It is October 5th, actually, not October 4th, but it's October 5th. And so we are ready to officially kick off our Armor of God study by Priscilla Shire. Um, and I just have to say that part of the reason I'm recording this on the 5th and not the 4th is because, I have been extremely challenged and really expectant of starting this study, but also kind of resistant and trying to walk through that. So today, I want to get us started. I want us to launch strong so that we can finish strong. But I'm really excited about it. I think part of my hesitancy is around the fact that everything coming at me in this season is telling me that we are in a season of prayer. We are in a season of warfare. We are in a season of big faith. We are in a season of miracles. And that requires for us to step outside of our comfort zone. I think sometimes when life is going well, it's easy for us to coast along. It's like the old saying, no news is good news. Like, as long as things are going well, as long as my life is uninterrupted, as long as I seem to have a handle and control of things, then I can pray safe prayers. I can go with the flow of things. I can keep things status quo. And I can act like my faith is really strong. I can act like I'm really stepping out there on really big faith. But the reality of it is that I'm playing it safe. I'm not asking God to do anything big. I'm not asking him to touch those things in my life that I think are impossible, that I've tucked away, and have created a safety net for myself. Because if I don't pray those prayers, if I don't have to believe God for those things, then I don't have to worry about getting disappointed. And I don't know if that resonates with any of you, but that has certainly been my life recently. I've kind of insulated myself and created a safe space for me, which I felt was necessary. But in the meantime, what that meant is that those areas of my life that I had been trusting God for, I said, "Oh, I'm all right if you don't do that." And so I've made myself okay with not waiting on an answered prayer. And so, I'm not sure. I love to do Priscilla's studies. I was invited to be on her launch team for this study. And before I even knew what it was about, I said yes, because I love Priscilla. I love everything that she's doing. And then when I realized what the book was about, I thought, ugh, I don't know if I'm ready for this in that season. And then The War Room came out. And I kind of like kept my distance from the movie The War Room. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to like go see it because I knew that once the opening weekend came and went, and I heard what people were saying about the movie, I knew that if I went, I would be challenged to have to step into that space and to have to believe God for some big things. I would have to like lift up that rug and start believing God and unveiling some of those things that I had tucked away in the impossible corner and that I had pushed aside so that I could have peace. And those things that I had said, God, I prayed for a long time about those things. You didn't do it. The answer must be no. And then I was listening to the Elevation Church podcast, and Pastor Stephen preached a message, and it was all about what was the title of that message? It's called "It's All a Part of the Plan." And he was talking about Sarah and Abraham and how they waited all of this time, and God had promised them that Abraham would be the father of nations, and they waited all of this time until old age. And Sarah, they believed, yeah, they had tucked that dream away. I'm old. I can't have a baby anymore. Surely God has said, no, not now. No, this isn't what I have for you. And so all these years they had waited, they tucked it under the rug. They stopped believing that God would keep his promise and do the impossible. And so what do? They go out and have Hagar have a baby. They interrupted the plan. And even in all of that, God still came back around and lived up to his promise. Y'all, I've got some things that I've put under the rug. I have some things that I don't want to believe God for because that means I have to step outside of my comfort zone. That means that I'm going to have to stay up all night praying about some things. That means that I may have to fast. And y'all know how much I love to eat. But that means that I may have to fast on some things. That means that I may have to wait on some things. I'm like Sarah. I'm like, I prayed about that thing for 4 years. I prayed about that thing for 6 months. I prayed about that thing last night and God didn't answer. Surely what I thought he had promised me wasn't the promise. So I sweep it to the side. I put it on the rug for my safety. And then I go about making it happen in the way that I see fit to make that thing happen. So all of this, I'm saying all of this because all of this had kept me away. Right? Like I knew that going into this study, I was going to be challenged to have to pray some big prayers. I knew that if I was going to sign up and say, y'all, I want to lead you in this study, that meant I'd have to go into my prayer closet and I would have to believe God to do some things. And I just wasn't sure that I was ready for that because, like I said, things are going fairly well. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I'm okay with just kind of riding this thing out. But God in this season is saying, I've promised you bigger. I've promised you better. I've promised to do those things which you feel are impossible. And you have to step out of your comfort zone and get them, okay? And so that's where I'm at. So I went and saw War Room. It wrecked me because I was like, okay, God, I prayed those prayers for 44 years. And what's the answer been, right? I found myself completely frustrated because I'm like, my prayers weren't answered in a 90-minute movie. Like, how come they went from problem prayer to answer in 90 minutes? Can I get a 90-minute blessing, right? And so I was finding ways to challenge God as he was laying it on my heart that he was challenging me in this season. So War Room came out, and then I ordered the book Fervent, which is written by Priscilla as well, and it's like not specifically set up as a Bible study, but it's a book that accompanies the movie and goes well with this study. And I'm like, God, we're in this season of believing, and we're in this season of praying and acting in faith and stepping up in faith. And I just wasn't ready, y'all. Like, I'm overwhelmed by this. And then so that's 3 things, right? Final thing was a few weeks ago, Pastor John Gray preached at Elevation Church. And his word was all about the fact that he said, the currency of our miracles is on the tip of our tongue. And he challenged us because, he says, the word says that God is the author and finisher of our faith. He is an author. He brokers in words. And so in order to access our miracles, we have to access him through our words. We can't stay silent. We can't stay comfortable. We can't pray safe prayers and expect God to move in our lives. We've got to step out of our comfort zone, outside of ourselves, and step into being brave and going for the miracles. So that's what this is all about. That's what the Armor of God study is all about. And that's what we're going to journey together with over the next 6 weeks, which I am totally ecstatic about. So let me tell you the resources you need. The study that we are using is The Armor of God by Priscilla Shirer. So you should get you a copy of this. I think some folks have tried to follow along with our studies in the past, but without the book, it can be really challenging. So you need that. I am going to be using it as a supplemental. I encourage you to buy it, but you don't have to. We'll be pulling notes from the book I brought up, Fervent, A Woman's Battle Plan for Serious, Specific, and Strategic Prayer. The two go together really well. And then, of course, you need your sword, the word. You need your word. So whether it's on your phone or your iPad or your computer, or like me, I love a good old hard copy of the Bible so that I can mark it up. You'll need that. I have a notebook here that I'm keeping all of my notes for the study in, so you need that. And I think the most important thing is you need a willing heart. This study is, before I even opened it, it started challenging me. And I talked about that a little bit at the start of this video. And I think in order for us to get what we need to get out of it, that we have to come fully and we have to say, God, I'm coming to you in this season. I'm trusting you in this season. I'm offering myself in this season to do what I need to do, to speak in your language, to access those miracles that I have been afraid to ask you and to believe you for. And I think that that's what we have to do. And I've been challenged with this. I'm telling you, I set my alarm for 5:30 every morning to get up and do coffee with Christ. I have created my war room. I've set up my closet. It's ready for me. And I've been challenged. I've been afraid. I've been hesitant to step into that space because I know once I'm in it that I'm going to meet God there. And I need to make sure my heart is ready for the battle. In the introduction to the study, Priscilla says, this is a war, the fight of your life. A very real enemy has been strategizing and scheming against you, assaulting you, coming after your emotions, your mind, your man, your child, your future. In fact, he's doing it right this second, right where you're sitting, right where you are. And I think the seriousness of the battle, because I already know all of these things, right? The enemy has come after my life. He's come after my marriage. He's come after my family. He's come after my finances. He's come after my career. There is not an area of my life that the enemy has not tried to touch. I know that the battle is real. But like I said, once we get into our comfort zone and we think we're dealing okay, it's easy to say, God, I don't need to fast. I don't need to stretch. I don't need to lay out and ask you to do the impossible because I'm okay with the way life is. But God is saying, I have more for you. I can do the impossible. So why are you not trusting me to do that? And I think it's that has kept me away. I think it's the fact that I know there's a war raging out there. And I have felt that like if I keep myself away from it, I don't have to engage in it. But the reality of it is it's going on whether I choose to participate in it or not. So I might as well go ahead and get on the winning side and side with God and use my words as my currency to access those miracles and those things that God has already promised me that I've been afraid to go after. And so that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you to enter into this season with me. I'm asking you to commit to the next 6 weeks. The way this works is I pour my heart out like this. I share it with you. We read together over the week on our own private study time. I know we're all busy, and so it's hard to say at this time we're going to do this study, right? And so over the week we're reading, we check in online in the Facebook group. You're watching the videos. If you have an issue accessing the videos or purchasing the videos, let me know in a private message so we can figure out a way to work that out for you. Because I want us fully engaged and ready for battle. I want to see my sisters winning. You know, what has come since I ordered these books, since I picked up these books, since I committed to us spending the next 6 weeks together, I've had one friend call me whose kids were basically being held hostage by their ex's partner. I've had another friend call me on the verge of wanting to know whether it was time to file for the divorce. I have friends whose kids are beating cancer. And in my own life, while things are going what I would consider really well, I know that there are some things out there that God is desiring for me to desire. And so my prayer has to be, Lord, turn my heart towards those things, turn my heart towards you. Give me the courage to step out of my comfort zone and to take you up on this, to fight for this. So that's what I'm asking. I'm asking that for the next 6 weeks, you will join me and you will commit and you will stretch and you'll go beyond your comfort zone, so that we can see some really major things happening in our lives. Because I'm telling you, I am sick of the enemy attacking not only my life, but I'm sick of the enemy attacking the lives of the people I care about. I'm sick of my friends having to deal with divorce and baby daddy drama and whatever. I'm sick of it. And so I'm saying, like, you can't have my life, you can't have my child's life, you can't have my family's life, and you can't have my friend's life. But I need you all to join in this with me. I need you all to commit to this journey with me. I heard a message a few weeks ago that talked about worship opening up the gateways for heaven, to heaven. And they said, God is the highest of the high. There is no one above God. And so surely God could worship himself, but there is no one else for him to worship. And so when we worship, we give God something that really he can't do for himself, because there's no one else for him to worship. And so he can worship himself, but he can't inhabit the praise. He can't create the praise for himself. And so when we worship, we're singing a love song to him that only we can do. And so worshiping God, for me, creates this place where I can get into his presence and I can be with him, so that when I ask the prayers, I can ask them in a really intimate way. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone you don't really know and you're just making small talk for the sake of making small talk? You'll never talk to you most likely will never talk to them again. There's no intimacy involved in what you're doing. And so you have the conversation, you go your way, and it just is what it is. It was small talk. There was no connection. There was no intimacy. We don't want our prayers to our Father to be like that, because he's cared so much for us. He's given so much for us. He's done so much for us, that we don't want to just let our prayers be small talk to God. And so worship takes us into that place. It creates the atmosphere for intimacy. It creates the place where we're before his throne and we can look him in the face and we can say, Father God, I'm asking you to do this. I'm trusting you to do this. So for the last part of this video, because I'm taking this study really personal. For the last part of this video, that's exactly what I want us to do, is create an atmosphere of worship. I want us to enter into this study in worship, in awe, in faith, in crazy, radical faith, trusting and believing that he will do what he promised he will do. We don't need to go out and get Hagar. We don't need to go course correct and try to answer it on our own. If he promised it, if he said it, he's going to do it, and we need to get into his presence and believe him for it. That's what I'm challenging us to do over the next 6 weeks together. So I want to just create that atmosphere right here, right now, because we're about living this. I don't want to just teach it. I don't want to just preach it. I don't just want to come here and talk to myself on a video. I want to see change happen in my life. I want to see the impossible done in your life. That marriage that feels so dry, that marriage that you think, you know what, it's best for me to walk away from this right now. I want to see the impossible done. I want to see y'all's hearts turned to God and turned back towards each other, and not just surviving but thriving. That's what I'm believing for you. and for me. And so I want to end today in worship. I want to end today in awe of who he is. I want to end today creating an atmosphere where he is here and he is looking at us and gazing at us, and we are looking him in his eyes, and we can say, Father, I come. I come weary. I come scared. I come not really in the mood to ask for these things. I mean, some of the things God is urging me and prompting me to pray for. I have said over and over and over again, God, I don't even know if I want that. Like, you're telling me to believe you that you are going to do this impossible thing. And I don't even know if it's what I want. Like, this is you turning my heart towards that thing. It's not necessarily even what I want. I'm believing God for that in your life. Do you have some unwanted things that God is challenging you to ask for? That's what I'm believing. So we're going to end today in worship. We're just going to end today inviting him into this study because he is welcome here. I don't want just another Facebook chat group. I want his presence. I want his name to look like I want him in all his glory. Oh, yes, I am. And I never want to be this. There's love. Your love is better than life. And it keeps me safe. And I never want to be. There's peace. Peace like a river flows. I never want to be lost. There's love. And I found it in you. Oh, that's why I say. I need you, and I never wanna be. Right where you are. I wanna be right where you are. Right here. Anybody else like me?